Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Well, I'm very excited to be here. I'm excited to be here because I never imagined that I would be invited to be on TED. Actually, as a matter of fact, I never imagined that I would be a college professor or an author of 2 books. The reason I never imagined this is because from a young age, I was a kid who was at risk. And you see, it all began with my teachers. And I was this little. My family was poor, single mother on welfare. And my teachers, they had sympathy for me. They had sympathy for me. And they said, this kid is poor, let's put him at risk. So it kind of made sense. And then I would sit in the front of the class because I needed glasses. And I couldn't see the board. And even at the front of the class, it was difficult for me to read the board. And so they said, you're at risk because you have these unresolved health issues. And as I'm growing up, I hit the streets as a teenager to survive in this environment. And I get involved in gangs. And at first, it's just a childhood play group. But then the police start to put tags on us and say, you guys are at risk. And then we start to do risky things. And so you see where I'm getting here. I want to make a case today, a simple case. And the case is this, that we stop calling people at risk and that we start treating fellow human beings as Atpromise. Regardless of whether they're the pot smoker in the freshman dorm, the person doing the walk of shame on a Saturday morning, or that kid on the street who's throwing up signs because his heart is cold because he's been hurt, and hurt people hurt people. And so for the last 10 years, my research has been to try to understand how do you motivate young people who face adversity? Systematic research studies where I've spent 3 years in Northern California following young people, shadowing them, taking the bus with them, hanging out at the street corner with them, going into their schools, going to court with them, hanging out with their families. 3 years. And then 3 years in Southern California. And the reason I'm here today is because someone reached out to me, a teacher who cared. And with her empathy, not her sympathy, her empathy, she said, this kid isn't at risk, he's at promise. And once other teachers started to see me as at promise, I began to flourish. Now let me show you a picture. These are some of the young men I study. Stereotype. You got the tagging, you got the gang signs, you got the Hennessy bottle with this little 14-year-old, you got the blunt right here. Stereotypes. And they're all, when I met them, everyone said, these are the most at risk, well, let me study them. And over the years, as we worked with them, we found ways to help them flourish. And the first step we took was to place them at promise and eliminate them from the risk. And the reason they had been placed at risk was because they lived in this context. Right? This is how it began with me. And so when you label someone, what you call someone often determines how you treat them. The discourse that you create about people often determine the treatment that they receive. Why should this matter to you? This should matter to you because it's costing us as taxpayers billions of dollars to see these kids as risks. It's not just affecting their lives. Let me show you the problem. For the first time in the history of the state of California, we spend more on prisons than we do on public education. $30,000 a year per person that we lock up. That's twice as much as a UC education and almost as much as an Ivy League education. And sometimes when these kids go to state facilities, we're paying as taxpayers $200,000 a year to lock them up. This is why it should matter to us. If we don't have a moral perspective, a perspective of empathy, then this is another way to look at it. It's costing our society billions of dollars. The N.E.E. Casey Foundation has found some potential solutions. In the state of Missouri, you have a living quarter that looks like a home. Most states have these cold concrete cages. I've been to them. I spent time in them. I'm a survivor of the juvenile justice system. In Missouri, they spent $48,000 per kid a year. Sounds like a lot. But what if I were to tell you that's half the national average? And on average, kids are still being placed in these cold concrete cages. In Missouri, they're rehabilitating the kids. In the other cold concrete cages, they're piling them up like sardines. In Missouri, they do therapy. They do social work. They do conflict resolution. They do restorative justice. In most of the rest of the country, we still just mace kids, rampant cases of abuse. The system is dysfunctional and it's costing society, moral and financial. So why do I care? Well, I care because I was one of these kids. And as I'm running around going in and out of juvie, as I'm running around at risk as a teenager, one day my best friend gets shot and killed in front of me at the age of 15. I didn't know who to turn to. I didn't know where to go. And I went to the one place where someone had told me she would be there for me when I was ready to change. I went to my teacher, Miss Russ. She heard about my friend being shot. And she approached me as I'm walking down the hallway in school. And she says to me, "Victor, are you okay? I heard what happened." And I said, "Yeah, I'm okay. I was trying to be tough." She knew I wasn't okay. She reached out with her empathy. And she tapped me on the shoulder, and I felt her empathy. Not sympathy. Sympathy means you place someone at risk. Empathy means you place someone at promise. And when I felt her touch, in front of the whole school, I began to cry like a little kid. And you know what this teacher did? Opened her arms, gave me a hug, and she said, "Victor, I'm here for you. When you're ready to change your life around, I'll be here for you. But you have to do the work." You see, people, it's not about coming up with excuses for these young men who we place at risk. It's about changing our perspective about them, and then it's about giving them an opportunity to be held accountable. So with the help of my teacher, I'm proud to tell you that I started doing better in school. She connected me with some university students who were my mentors. These were students that, just wanted to help needy people. They wanted to see great ideas and put them into practice. And they started to mentor me. And they started to tutor me. And they taught me about college. And I said, "College? I'm supposed to be a used car salesman. I don't need college for that." But they convinced me. I applied. I got a letter from California State University, and it said, "Congratulations, you've been admitted." I read a little further, and it said, "You've been admitted under probationary status." I said, "Probation? I'm already on probation." That don't matter. But they meant another kind of probation. Like if you get a C or below, they're going to kick you out. So I walked into the university as a risk. But that's okay, because they gave me a chance. So they might have seen me as a promise as well. And with the help of these mentors, the help of this teacher, the help of that program in the university, I thrived and I ran, and I'm still running today. And these young people that I've studied systematically over a decade, the common denominator for them to change their lives around is how they're treated by society. So what are the solutions? That we invest financially and empathically in young people who are placed at risk. That we enhance people's dignity. Remember what I said, that hurt people hurt people? Most people that commit crime are doing it because they're detached. Their emotional intelligence is out of place. But we as a society also need to get more emotionally intelligent about these young people, right? Because we place them at risk. And if we're emotionally intelligent about them, we'll place them at promise. Finally, we need to create a continuum of care. This is what the continuum looks like. That if I go to school, that you treat me as that promise. That if I run into police, that they treat me as that promise. That if I'm hanging out with my family and they found out I was smoking pot behind the school, and instead of saying, "Hey, the police is right, you're a criminal," right? That they treat me as that promise. In other words, give me a chance to make up for this mistake. And then, only then, if we treat young people with that kind of dignity, then, only then, if we move from this label of risk to a label of promise, we'll begin to see more young people thrive and grow and flourish, and maybe come back and say, like the artist Tupac Shakur would say, "I am the rose that grew from concrete." Thank you very much for your time.